It is 6:01 and we do have a quorum, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. And I believe this will be everybody tonight. Unless that's somebody new, I don't think so. So I'm just going to start with an attendance. Chris,
Here.
Mary,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Jay, yes, and Helene.
Yes.
welcome, Helene. First item on our agenda is just the review of the minute and approval of our minutes from our July meeting. Mary did an outstanding job as usual. Did anyone have any questions or concerns on that?
Nope.
All right, I'll make a motion and look for a second if possible to accept those minutes as written.
Second.
Second by Chris. And Chris, do you just have to take a roll call vote on that, Chris?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Helene?
Yes.
And Jay? Yes. So that is 6-0. Thank you, Mary. We appreciate it. Item number 2, unfortunately, I've told a couple people, John Moquin, our Park and Rec director, reached out to me this afternoon. He had a personal conflict and is unable to attend. He was very apologetic. And I know he has a lot on his plate. He's doing a lot of different things at once, wearing a lot of different hats. So I would just like to make a motion for item number 2 to table to our September meeting. And I can also note that John is going to write up a sort of a synopsis of the 2 projects, Gloutak and Jones Point Park, for us, just so we have an update within the next couple of days. And then he'll be at our September meeting to answer any questions and just introduce himself. So a motion on the floor is to table agenda item number 2 to September. Could I get a second on that? All right. And then a roll call vote. Chris?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Helene?
Yes.
And Jay? Yes. So 6-0 on that, and we'll see John. Agenda item number 3, I can just give the update. And I should just say Naomi isn't here tonight. Just she is, as we know, is vacating her position as our admin, but doing so under excellent terms, and is going to stay on until we are able to hire and train a replacement. And she just felt, since we would be discussing the future admin, that she felt it best not to be here. So I did welcome her to be here, but she felt that was best, and I certainly was happy to accommodate that. So I can just give you the CPP update. The survey has been completed. We are having some technical issues with the translation into Spanish. We want to make sure that that's accessible to everybody in our community. So that's just the one holdup, is we're working. It's not a matter of the translation part. That's done. It's the Google Docs is giving us some trouble. So we have some tech support already working on it, and we hope to get that done in the next couple of days. And the CPP subcommittee will be meeting next week to set a final date for a public hearing. We just want to try to have that be as accessible as possible. And that's the update. So I think, like I said last meeting, the survey is excellent. It's more nuts and bolts, rubber meeting the road. Do you want this, or this? Which do you prefer? It's very, very straightforward, and I think an easy read, and it's a nice document. So I think it'll be a useful survey for us. So I don't think we need to really take a vote on that, but that's the update for the CPP. I feel like I'm going too fast here. Mary.
You said to share it, but I don't know where we can even see it. I'm looking at and I got that email, but couldn't figure out how to share it or even how to open it.
Yes, if you would hold off actually on sharing it until the translation.
Good, fine. Yep, good. Fine.
Yes. Yeah,
Yep.
That's the thing. I just want to make sure that that's, like I said, accessible for everybody in our city as much as we can. But yeah, it'll be very soon. And we do hope to just have that completed by December. So we have a little bit of a little bit of buffer there, but certainly it's near the top of the list to get that taken care of, and then blast it out on social media, and then to to your respective committees and connections and such. So agenda item number 4 is really just going to be an update for me. The eligibility, we have currently 5 applications for eligibility. The deadline is this Friday, the 15th. Excuse me. And I can tell you from experience last year, I think half of our applications came in the last hour. Everybody just kind of, for whatever reason, they just, they know what the deadline is, and they slip it in right at the deadline. So we're sitting at 5 right now. And, I anticipate that we'll have at least a few more before Friday. But the 5 that we have now, I can let everybody know if you're interested. I think they're really interesting projects. For me, this is kind of the fun part. I love seeing what potential projects are coming down the pipeline. So the first one is St. Paul's Church. They put in a request for $290,000 from us on a total budget of $290,000 for 3 stained glass windows. It's in the historical category, and it's going to be a tough one in terms of whether or not they're eligible. I can I'll make a final determination on that, but it's, we're up against some of the state laws and an opinion by our city solicitor that may make that ineligible. But, my preference is if things can be eligible, to make them eligible, and then we can determine as a committee whether or not we want to appropriate funds. But certainly the state law will supersede my preference. So we'll have to see what we can do there. The second project is from the Department of Conservation and Sustainability, from Yoni. For Scott's Tower, the rehab of Scott's Tower. So his request is for $175,000 on a budget of $700,000. And I know I spoke with Yoni in person, and he hopes to leverage, if awarded, CPA funds into a state grant that will fill out the rest of that budget. So what that would be is, and if you remember, Michael and Mary, we took a nice hike, a beautiful day. I think it was maybe last fall, up to Scott's Tower. It's really the next part of that where they're gonna rehab the tower itself, the stairs. They're gonna repoint the outside. They're gonna make that first level accessible. There's just a number of things. Going to get some landscaping and cleaned up nice. So it's quite a substantial project. The eligibility application is more simple than the full one, so I don't have a lot of detail, but it's a pretty exciting project, and I know that Yoni has a reputation of having done good work for us. So that's our second application, and it's under the historic and the outdoor recreation categories. And I can tell you that that's almost certainly will be eligible. Our third current application is Wistariahurst. They put in a request for $65,000 on a budget of $65,000, and that's to redo the butler's pantry. It's currently not accessible to the public, and it's kind of a really neat addition to the museum, and they hope to use funds from the CPA to get that opened up and available to the public. So again, that'll Michael.
It does need updating, no question.
Mhm.
But I'm wondering, is the butler? I mean, I could see like the living room or the foyer or the music room.
Yep.
And I do agree that butler's pantry does need updating, but is that historical? Do you think? I know this is not the proper forum.
I do. I think that it will be. I think that it will be eligible. Whether or not it rises to our level of deciding to fund, I think is going to be the question. But I think that in terms of, just because the museum itself is on the historic register.
I mean, I think there's also a real move in all of these houses to create historic spaces about the people who worked there and who, weren't the rich people that owned it, but like the workers who made it possible and who kept it going and stuff. So anyway,
Yes.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of historic, just from hearing the little description, like that would be very useful in terms of making that, as comprehensive a space as possible. So anyway,
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see what they have to say, but that's what I hear when I hear about it.
Yeah, it's an interesting one for sure. And I was able to talk to Megan about it, and she was pretty excited. So she thinks it's a good project for us. That's also in the historic category. Our fourth project is the Holyoke merry-go-round, also in the historic category. That request is for $30,000 on a total budget of $30,000, and that would be to rehab 4 of the horses. So similar, we did a similar grant. I believe it was an emergency grant out of the normal cycle, perhaps 3 or 4 years ago. So it's very similar to that. And Susan Leary from the merry-go-round put in that request for that.
Mm-hmm.
Our fifth and last at the moment eligibility application is the Holyoke Health Center. They put in a request for $225. The total project is unknown. They're working on rehabbing 275 High Street, which is it's interesting because it's right across from City Hall and down a little bit. If you're standing on High Street with City Hall to your back, it's to the left, down a couple of buildings, and it's sort of one of those. I think of it as like a missing tooth. We have a beautiful set of buildings, and it's one it's kind of boarded up, and Holyoke Health Center is working on rehabbing that and turning it into just extending their facility. They have an adjacent facility there, so that's interesting as well. It's for the windows, so it's a very similar in style of application to the Wrights Block, which we did a few years ago. That was approved, and I think in large part because it came with the knowledge that it would be triggering some state grants as well. So I haven't seen anything like that. The eligibility applications are a bit, like I said, more basic, but those are our 5 applications right now. And if anyone's interested, I can actually extract the forms themselves and share them with anybody who's interested. Mary.
What category was the Holyoke Health Center? Was that?
That's also historic. Yeah. So we have 5 applications. All 5 are historic. The only one that's different is Yoni, who's both historic and outdoor recreation at the moment. So, like I said, last year we got quite a few applications on the last day, and I do expect that to be the same this year. But, we'll see what it is. We'll see how folks play out with it. But so those are our that's our funding cycle update at the moment. Did anybody have any questions or concerns about that? And I'll certainly update folks as the new applications come in the next couple of days. Like I said, I expect a kind of a flurry of them at the end. And for me, that's one of my favorite parts. I love seeing what the new applications are going to be and what we might be working on. So,
Mr. Chairman, is the
Yes, sir.
Holyoke, to your knowledge, is the Holyoke Health Center is that a corporation?
I believe it is. I believe it's a private entity.
Yes,
So
it is. Yeah.
that wouldn't preclude them. It'd be very similar to the Wrights Block, where that was also done by a private, group of private contractors or developers, you might say. So, but yes, I don't believe that's a nonprofit. I believe that's a for-profit. So I think that would be a tax-paying property if it were updated, and I'll certainly get that information prior to us voting on the award.
Thank you.
So number 5, agenda item number 5, and I wonder if we might discuss this topic but delay action on it just because we're missing so many members tonight, and it's not something I think that we should act upon with a partial group. But I just wanted to bring up the idea of potentially extending the term limits for our officers. I can tell you I personally don't plan on serving longer than the current limit, which would be 3 years. I'm on my 2nd term. I'd be open to serving a 3rd if the committee would have me. But I think the concern that I have is in looking at, and I don't know if anyone's followed it, we have our city elections coming up this fall, and very few of them are even contested. There were 2 positions actually where folks just signed up for the position, including a city council position. There's no competition. So I'm concerned that we might not have someone to fill the roles. I'm starting to like wonder. I mean, I know when I had applied for the position, I believe I was the only applicant. When Sarah applied as the community representative, there were 2 applicants, but she was the only one who had showed up for the interview. And I believe when Meg had been appointed, that she was the only applicant. So I'm just trying to perhaps have some thought about giving us some more flexibility there. The current term limits for our officers are 3 years, and I can read the exact language from our bylaws. It's officers shall serve a regular term of 1 year and may be reelected for no more than 2 consecutive terms, which we've interpreted as correctly, I think, as a 3-year term limit on anything, and you must be reelected every year. So my thought was that we might have a conversation about extending that to 4 or 5 years, just to give us that flexibility if needed. But I like I said, I personally don't plan on doing that. I think it's best to change the chairman role after that amount of time. But I think that we might have a conversation once the full committee is here about perhaps extending that, or perhaps extending it for certain positions, that, the secretary and that type of thing. But that was my thought on it. And it was just something that, we had sort of, Meg and I had discussed a couple of times, and just wanted to bring that forward. And I just ask everybody to sort of think on that for a little while, and perhaps next meeting or a future meeting will act upon it, or perhaps not. I just think it's something that's worth us doing some due diligence on. Michael.
I know you want to save it for the full committee, but given the increasing complexity of your job as chairman, I think it's going to take at least a couple of years for the average person to come up to speed on what the hell is going on, and the funding cycles and all that stuff. I think if we take it from your thoughts, rather than 3 years, if we make it 5, that you could be elected 5 consecutive years, because your job, the chairman's job, it's a hell of a lot harder now than it was when we first started. I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah.
The oversight and the complexity is far more. So I think it's going to take, I think, on an average, at least 2 years just to get a full scope of what I have to do and what goes where. So I think adding the possibility, if that person is so inclined to stand on for another 2 or 3 years and to make it a 5-year stint, is not a bad idea, because it's not getting any easier.
It is. It's a bit much. And I mean, I think, compared to where I was a year ago, it's there's a lot. There's a lot to it. And, I think one of the things I try to do is really include everybody as much as possible in what we're doing. So there's not really a bottleneck of information or process, but, for sure, it's definitely an involved position, and it's also, it's work. I enjoy it deeply. I like every single and respect every single person on the committee, and it makes it fun and easy, and I enjoy it. But it is like an unpaid part-time job for sure. And I just am worried that we might not find an unlimited line of volunteers to do that. And I just would want to give us the flexibility, and also just, you still need to be reelected every year. So it's not like somebody's going to just post up in the position and start, running things as they want. But anyway, Mary.
Okay, I agree with all that. It sounds great, but I have a question. We're now engaged in kind of revitalizing our CPA plan. Does this piece of information have to be included in the new plan?
No, it's separate. So this is more of a bylaws thing. If we did change it, it would have to be approved by city council for sure. But the community preservation plan is more of a, what the city's looking for from us. And this is the bylaws are more of just our logistical operations, I suppose. So very similar, but just a bit different.
Thank you.
Were there any other questions or concerns? My suggestion is that we just kind of think on it. And then once we have, Meg and Sarah and Maribel are here, we have I think it's the type of thing that we do with a full committee, not a partial. So I think just for that reason, I think we're mostly in agreement, but just for that reason, I'd like to postpone any action on it if everybody's comfortable with that. Appreciate that. So agenda item number 6, and this is relevant to the email I sent out this morning. I hope everybody was able to take a look at that. So Naomi gave her notice on the, as our admin, and she's done a nice job for us. She had her reasoning for doing that, and I think I outlined that in the email. I don't know, we need to discuss it at public meeting, but it's certainly a very amicable separation, and she's going to stay on and really help onboard our new admin. And she's working on sort of an onboarding document, passwords and contact information and that type of stuff for us. So as everybody remembers, and as I outlined in my email this morning, we had voted back in the fall as Rebecca Jones as a sort of a second option for us. We all liked Rebecca. She had a very strong interview and a very strong resume. And I can say that as I've grown into this position as chair, I feel like her strengths really have kind of jumped out at me even more. She has experience with Munis, which is that's a tough one. I can tell you it's very difficult to use, and she works for another municipality that utilizes Munis. So I think it's a big advantage. And my proposal to the committee is that we offer the position to Rebecca, and that you authorize me as chair to negotiate the salary, the range, which is voted on us by us, is $25 to $30 an hour. So I will, speak with Rebecca if we decide to approve her, and work with Kelly, our personnel director, to determine an appropriate rate of pay. Under discussion. Michael.
Mr. Chairman, do you want us to, the 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5 of us, do you want the 5 of us this evening to hire her, or would you prefer the whole board, or what would you prefer?
I'd like us to hire her, and I can say that I of course I spoke with Meg about it, and it was mostly her idea, frankly. We were both in agreement, but she's fully supportive of the idea, as is Sarah, and I think everybody got Maribel's email saying the same thing. So I would like to take action on this if we were comfortable.
Sure.
Tonight, yes. Helene.
So just a couple things. I, am very much in favor, and I'm really glad that she's available to work with us. That's fantastic news, because she really seems to have exactly the perfect background. And if she wants another part-time job doing this work, then that's a bonus for us. I would strongly encourage us to pay her on the high side of what our range. And partially it's because I think the turnover with this position in the past, year and a half has been, it's not going to be easy to do any transition when it's like the one person who's the staff person. And I really appreciate that Naomi's gonna stay and figure that out, and that's very amicable. But I think this is a position where we get a lot of value of having someone who commits and is willing to stay with us. And so I think, we should be paying that amount, it's budgeted for and okay. And especially with the experience we know she has, it would be fantastic and just a huge value for our committee to have someone who comes in with that experience and then is committed and is being paid, at the most appropriate level and stays with us. So I wanted to put that out. And then I also just kind of wanted to know, and I don't know if there's going to be an exit interview kind of with Naomi, but just like, are there ways to simplify the person's responsibilities? I just, again, just wanting to make sure that who's ever in the role feels like it's manageable, and it's a part-time position. That's what it is. And so, and sometimes that's really hard. I've mulled over going somewhat part-time in my position, but I've never met a lawyer who people have been paid part-time but have never actually worked part-time. And so there are just some positions where it's like really hard to stick to that, and they do more hours than really they're billing for, because there's just so many moving pieces. So I just want to kind of, I guess, just raise like making this as manageable as possible, so that her name is Rebecca, yes?
Rebecca Jones, yes.
Rebecca Jones. So that Rebecca Jones can come in and, just has like, we've learned some lessons and has as frictionless of time as possible getting going, and that things are really clear, especially if she has kind of a similar like level of responsibility at her other position, for us to be very understanding of that. And but just create conditions for someone who can really invest their time in this program long term, I think would be of huge value to the city. So
absolutely, I agree entirely. I think the main objective certainly with the new hire would be to put them in a position to be successful, and it's a very unique position. You're doing contract negotiations, some writing press releases, not negotiation, but writing press releases, doing financial monitoring, and then the city purchasing procurement process as well is substantial. So for sure, I think we're absolutely trying to be mindful of that, and just making it a comfortable position for her, and making it, I think what I always try to do with Naomi was be very clear on what our expectations were, and what those responsibilities were, and then try to always be supportive and fill in gaps the best I can. And I think that's what we'll continue to do. But for sure, we'll have some conversations with Naomi about how we can do that better. I'm sure there's ways that we can, and anybody's absolutely welcome to participate in that, and I can loop anyone in if they'd like, for sure. Any other thoughts? All right, I think I'll make a motion that we hire Rebecca Jones, and that we authorize Jay as chair to negotiate a salary appropriate for the position and for her experience, and I will report back as to what that is to the full committee. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Roll call vote. Chris?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Helene?
yes.
And Jay, yes. So by a vote of 6-0, we voted to offer the position to Rebecca. And I can tell you that we spoke via email, and then we spoke again on the phone. And she's very excited about the opportunity. And we talked more in detail about her experience and what she has to offer. And I'll get going on that tomorrow morning. I'll reach out to Kelly and personnel, and Kelly's always on point with us. She's always her and her entire staff are always very good to us. So I hope that we can get that going quickly. And we have set a goal of Naomi, in discussions with Naomi, of her responsibilities wrapping up by our September meeting. So that would give about a month of an onboarding to Rebecca, but we can extend that if needed. But I think Naomi was also looking to move on at some point sooner rather than later. So we're going to do our best to balance our needs and Naomi's preferences. But thank you for that. So agenda, am I flying through this meeting? I feel like I'm going so
are.
fast.
Perfect.
I apologize if I am.
Not a problem. It's August.
Okay. I don't want to sound like I'm rushing anything. So agenda item number 7 was just really an admin update from Naomi. I'm just going to propose that we table this until our September meeting. Naomi's preference was to not be present at this meeting as we discussed the new admin position. So I think, she can offer those updates. There's nothing in there that I think is burning hot that we need to bring forth anyway. Is there a second on that motion to table?
Second.
All right, I'm just going to do a roll call vote on that. Chris?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Helene?
Yes.
And Jay? Yes. So we are on to our last agenda item, just old business. I think we know this mostly library. I think I told everybody last meeting. I hope I did. Library Commons and Wrights Block are both under construction. The work is being done at the moment. I've been to both sites. I was able to have a tour of the Wrights Block from Bill Womendorf, who was very kind. Just very excited about the project. It's it's making our city look nice. It's a section of our city that needed a little bit of attention and some investment, and these are the folks that are doing it. And I for one am glad to be a part of that. I think it's going to be really cool, and I'll make sure to invite anybody to any future events. I know Bill said that they had hoped to have the lieutenant governor present for one of their ribbon cuttings in the spring, and he was going to invite us to that. And they are also displaying both projects are also displaying our CPA signs, the temporary signage. So the agenda items 8B, C, and D, the finance subcommittee meeting is pushed until September. So unfortunately, we'll have to wait till our next meeting to be able to have an update on that.
Well, what was that in regards to? Small grants?
That was in regards to, yes, I had submitted our budget for council approval, which we had voted on, and then the small grants proposal as well, which was a $15,000 allocation for small projects. So the small projects are projects where the total budget of the entire project is less than $6,000, and our contribution is no more than $3,000. So these are going to, these would be, maybe a flower garden at the senior center, veterans monuments, plaques, things of that nature. I think that there are a number of those throughout the city. And I think the goal really is to just make that a bit easier. I think it's going to lend itself to city departments using it more than the general public. I think, but at the same time, what comes to mind is Wayne Kling. If you all remember Wayne, Wayne was a private citizen. He's currently has a position in our city, but he's somebody who has just had a passion, for our city and for our veterans, and came out and got some money. And I think we want to make our committee accessible to the Wayne Klings of our city. They're out there and they want to do good work, and I think that's part of the thought as well. So I'm pretty excited about it, honestly. But we'll have to wait another month to see if we can get approved on that. But I think we may have set a record. It's 6:33. I do like to brag about my speed, but this is like I said, I feel like I've gone too fast. But yeah, I appreciate everybody.
Everybody's no.
Yeah.
No
It's summertime.
problem.
Everybody's busy. Everybody's busy, but
Oh,
we did.
efficiency. It's a
Yeah,
good
yeah. Well, we had some meat and potatoes today too. We hiring a new admin. It was it was good foresight, I guess, or more good luck, you might say, that we had taken the action on Rebecca that we did, and that she was still interested. But I think she's going to do well, and I'll reach out to her tonight and let her know that we have approved that. And like I said, I'll get to work tomorrow with Kelly Curran on getting her onboarded and becoming an official employee of the city of Holyoke. So thank you all for your time, and I'll be in contact, and our next meeting will be the second Wednesday of September, which is, according to my calendar, the 10th, September 10th, 6:00. So thank you all so much, and enjoy the rest of your summer. We'll see you in the fall. It'll be football season next time we see each other, so I'm excited.
You too. Good
Take
night.
care.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.